when I say Saley, it's literally so white and so
Yes.
not who you are.
We say thou because you
Mhm.
allow us to get away with thou, but I know that there's a more appropriate, a correct pronunciation for your name as well.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hair X Friends We Got This podcast, where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experiences as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
We met during our entrepreneurial journeys. Our shared interest in becoming business owners and rejecting the traditional roles of pharmacy led to a friendship and now this collaboration. Our shared passion for helping others has given life to this beautiful podcast. As we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. Because at the end of the day, remember, friends, we got this.
We got this.
Hi, Sue.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Recovering from the holidays, returning to work.
Oh, yeah. How
So
has that been?
getting reacclimated. Getting reacclimated, I think, is
Seriously.
an accurate description.
Yeah. I got COVID the first week that I came
Gosh,
back.
what a way to start. Do text me with the sick and the tissue emoji. I was like, oh,
Oh,
it's serious.
I'm like, I'm sick. I can't talk today. Yeah.
I'm
Not
like, it's
fun.
serious.
Definitely not fun. But this is an important point that I want to mention is that I definitely had this moment where I felt really sad that this is how my
Oh,
year was starting. It's like, oh, is this going to be the beginning of a really bad year? Like, is
nope,
this an omen of some sort?
nope.
And yeah, I had to really pull myself out of it, but I recognized during that time that like people put such pressure on January, like the first month of the year. And like if things go wrong, it just feels like this really heavy blanket on the rest of
I
the
know.
year, which isn't true, but yeah, that's why for me, I'm like, okay, this is why I say I don't believe in New Year's resolution. Don't make this into like the special time of
No.
year, like
Oh,
it is just another time of the year and move on, get over it kind of
and
thing.
now look
Yeah.
at you. Who you couldn't convince me that you are recovered from COVID. Like you're glowing, you're
Oh, it's the
sparkling.
makeup.
Yeah.
Eh, it's the highlighter.
She's so funny. She's like, "Oh, girl, that's the makeup. What are you talking about?"
Oh,
Oh
but
man,
yeah.
no, I saw that emoji. I was like, "Oh no, she's not well." I am
Mm-mm.
very happy to hear that you are back,
Thank
and
you.
it doesn't set the pace for the new year. It doesn't mean anything. Like there's
Yeah.
all this time ahead of us, and you got this, girl.
There's 12 months. There's 11 other months that we got to get through. So, but the one thing that I was reminded of that you said on our podcast like
Oh,
a couple of months ago, you were like, this is not the final chapter of my book. This
no,
is going
it's
to be a difficult chapter to
not.
get through, but we'll get through it and then it's going to be better. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that made me feel
Oh,
better. So,
yeah. He was trying to
yeah.
make me super emotional today,
Oh my
but
God.
you recalled something. It's so true. It's like the difficult chapter. And then look at there are so many amazing unwritten chapters coming for 2024 that you're just gonna be like, this chapter is lovely. I like it here.
Exactly. So for anybody who's, sick or whatever on the couch and having who went through that same thought that I did,
Yeah.
whether I mean, I was kind of like, I'm like literally sitting on the couch and I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't exercise. I couldn't eat the food that I wanted because I was just so sick and I didn't want to cook. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't productive and you feel really bad about the situation. So for
Mm,
anybody who's listening who's like on the couch and is just feeling unmotivated and thinking that this is going to be the worst time ever, you
mm.
know, it's just a tough chapter, but you'll get through it.
Yes. I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that loud and clear.
But today we're going to be having a fun time talking
We are.
about some really cool things happening in February.
I
So for
know.
February, it's Lunar New Year.
Yes.
And I say lunar specifically because I know a lot of people say Chinese New Year, and I want to dispel that. Let's
Oh, I
let's
didn't
get
know
rid of
that they
that.
were different. Oh, that's not, you're gonna teach me today because I am
Yes.
one of those people. I
Ooh.
am people. I am people who says Chinese New Year.
It's
So
okay.
I am
I
excited.
almost said Chinese New Year,
Did
just
you
like,
really?
and I was like,
I'm definitely people. I could tell you that.
yeah,
But
yeah. Go ahead.
also, I get the pleasure of introducing and sharing brief stories about pharmacy trailblazers. I love to call them pathfinders. They incredible stories of people that have made an impact on this profession that we all are benefiting from today, that I think is absolutely worth it to mention their names and uphold their legacies.
Yeah.
But before we start any of this fun time, hey, Thu, do you want to introduce yourself to people?
Oh my gosh, Sally. Look at
I'm
you.
so excited. Y'all, you guys, if you've been listening, you know why this moment is a big deal right now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Thu, and I usually am the one that reminds Sally to introduce ourselves, but look how the tides have turned.
I'm, I'm doing a dance. I'm doing a dance. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me dancing. But I am very excited that I'm the person who's reminding Thu today that we should introduce ourselves. Hi, everybody. I'm Sally.
You know what? It's so funny. I made a mistake already in our intro. I sent us the old intro. Do you remember when we first started this podcast and we had
Oh,
this like
that's
long ass
true.
intro? That's why I
It's
was like, when you were
okay.
saying, when you were doing your part, I was like, wow, this is a lot longer than I
That's
recalled us
true.
doing. Listen,
But
we're still learning, okay? I
we're
mean,
gonna roll with the punches.
yeah, exactly. But before we jump into all of that, um, make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, that you are writing down in the comments below what your favorite Lunar New Year traditions are, or what
Yeah.
interesting facts you know about Black History Month.
Yeah.
And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, please rate us, review so that we can get the word out about who we are, and that way we can reach more people and build this community.
Yes, please, please, please like, share, and comment. This is
Yes.
how you help us become discoverable for your friends and colleagues. If you're walking the dog, if you're cleaning, if you're just hanging out, in a break room, just listen to us. We promise you'll laugh with us and enjoy this
Yes.
journey with us as we continue to build this little thing that is going to be this big, big, big thing for us.
Yeah,
But thank
exactly.
you. Thank you in advance for all of the support.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much. So let's take it away. Do you want to start with your trivia and then we can do mine? And FYI, I'm really bad at trivia and I'm also really bad with history. History is literally my least favorite class in high school, in college, whatever. Like truly. So,
It's like really and truly, I don't enjoy any of this stuff, but I like today, and I wanted to kind of, I think, start with this really general introduction and understanding of like usually what Black History Month means to me. So I think I was in US history 10th grade when my perspective, so what happened, the event that happened was, I'm going to date myself. Halle Berry and Denzel Washington won Oscars the same year for Best Actor and Best Lead
that's amazing. I
Actress.
thought that you were going to say Halle Berry and Denzel Washington dated. Cuz I'm into that stuff. I'm going to embarrass myself. Anyways, continue.
No, that's not where I was going at all. But Halle Berry and Denzel Washington had this historic moment. And there was another historic moment before that that had happened when I was in eighth grade, where Lauryn Hill won 5 Grammys for her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And I believe at the time she was the first Black woman to win 5 Grammys in one night. And a radio host had made a really racist comment about her winning for this. If you've never heard Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill album, it's timeless. I still listen to it when I just need to figure out if I'm going to cry today or if I'm going to
Oh,
go into fight mode. It is the ultimate,
wow.
it's my ultimate album to go through, even from like that age to now being a grown woman. It's still relevant. But the Grammys take place like around Black History Month too. So I remember the controversy then, but I didn't appreciate it. Denzel and Halle Berry win Oscars in the same night, and there's a lot of controversy. And when I came into US history that year, Miss Ross, she always asks a warm-up question when you come into class. And the warm-up question was, what historic event took place in the last week? I got it wrong. Like I got it wrong
Huh.
because I had no idea up until that moment that what Denzel and Halle Berry had accomplished were historic. Part
Mm.
of that is because my connection to Black history is really different. I was born in West Africa. I immigrated to the United States. So there are certain milestones that happen in this country that I don't fully understand sometimes. And I think now, as I've grown up, I've educated myself in many of those things. So a lot of the people that I have trivia questions for you today were people, there's one person that I have a personal connection with, which I'm like, girl, I'm flipping my hair. If you're just listening, I'm flipping my hair. I have a connection with one of these trailblazers that I am always and forever going to bring up because I just think it's such a profound connection.
Wow.
The first person,
We're gonna try to put their pictures up. If you guys are watching on YouTube,
oh,
their pictures will be up. If
yeah.
you're watching or if you're listening only, I would highly
So
recommend going to one of our pages to see who they actually are. So take it away. I probably
that
don't know
would
any
be,
of them.
this person is
Wait, hold
the,
on. Are you gonna make me guess names? Because I
oh,
don't know people's names. Come on. You're
okay.
setting
Well,
me up for
I'll do it.
failure.
I'll do it backwards. I'll give you their names and give you facts, and then you can tell me what, or maybe I'll do true or false. True or
Thank
false.
you. Yes, yes,
Can I
yes.
do true or false? Okay, let's go. Let's go.
100%.
Let's go.
Yes.
True
Okay.
or false? Okay.
Yes.
This person is Dr. James McCoon Smith, and he was born a slave, went to Europe and earned 3 degrees, then returned to his community and opened a pharmacy. So true or false? Is James McCoon Smith the first African American to own and operate a pharmacy in the United States?
Um, True.
Yeah. See, you're passing this exam already. You're passing this exam already.
I love it. Tell us
It's
more about him. So that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And if you read about him, it's such a interesting story because he applied to medical schools, kept getting denied here because he was Black. Goes to Scotland, earns 3 degrees, including a medicine degree and a pharmacy degree, then comes back and opens a community pharmacy where he serves people of all color at his pharmacy. And I think like this is so profound. Like he died, actually, I think he died like 19 days, like less than 30 days after his death, slavery became abolished in the United
Oh,
States. So
wow.
like
That's amazing.
he didn't live to see that he was leaving behind a country where slavery would no longer be a
That's
thing. I
so
think that
wild.
that's such a profound story.
So he came back to the US and
Yeah,
created the first community
pharmacy.
pharmacy.
Yeah.
Is it the first one ever or just the first one
He's
from
the
a
first African American
okay.
to own and operate.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
How did
it's
that how was he able to do that with, the political background and everything?
thank you. Right. And I think that's what makes him like such a trailblazer because
Mm.
slavery wasn't abolished. Like, per all accounts, as a Black man, he probably didn't even have the right to an education. But he went to Europe and had all this training in both medicine and pharmacy to come back and open and operate a pharmacy in a community where you were probably hated for no other reason than the one thing you can't change about who you are.
Yeah,
I thought
amazing.
that was like so interesting.
Round of
Okay.
applause.
Round of applause, especially for you too.
Yes.
You're a great
Oh,
exam taker. I could tell. You're a great
yeah.
exam taker. The next person I have for you is this is just true or false. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay. Before this woman, this goddess, this person, I just admire her so much.
A goddess.
Is it true or false that APHA went 150 years before electing its first woman president?
I believe from our previous episode, Sally, I believe it was episode 3 or 4. I can't remember. Pharmacy is what we do, not who we are. That you said that it took APHA 150 years to elect a black president.
It took them 126. 126. I tricked you with the number. You were so close. You're so
Trickster,
close.
trickster. I knew
I
it was a
became
long
the,
time though.
I know, I know. So
126. Dang it. I should have guessed. I
Marie,
should have known. 150 was too even of a number.
too even. Yeah. It was 126. They were very specific to say 126.
Okay.
And
Dang it.
what makes Dr. Mary Munson Rungi such an icon, in my opinion, it's because she wasn't only the first woman, but she was the first Black person.
So it's both.
It was both. Like she became
Wow.
first, it with that election, she became the first woman and the first Black person to be president of APHA. And before her election, the organization had 126 years history where it was exclusively run by white males. Um, I am I am a proud recipient of the Marie Munson Runge Scholarship.
Wow.
I, I am a proud, very proud
Amazing.
recipient of the APHA Foundation Scholarship that is established in her honor, where they
Wow.
recognize a student pharmacist that has been a trailblazer and a different maker at their College of
Girl.
Pharmacy. And they picked me in 2016
That's amazing. So this is a scholarship during when you were in school?
when
Like,
I was in school.
I
Yeah, so
see.
it's for
Okay.
a graduating senior out of pharmacy school.
Oh.
And what was sad was before that moment, I had no idea who she was. So I like just went and read so much about her and was just like, I will never be this cool and
What's her
or
name again?
iconic.
What's her name?
Mary Munson Runge.
Rungi.
Yes. And
Dr.
I
Rungi,
believe
we need a memoir. We need
we
a
do.
autobiography.
She sadly passed away. I
Oh no,
know. I
really?
didn't get a chance to meet her.
Wow.
Other pharmacists had a chance to meet her. And I believe it was LB Brown that actually established the scholarship in her honor, I
Oh,
believe.
that's
And
amazing.
so at the reception, I sat next to him and he knew her. And I peppered him with so many questions to get to know more about
Yeah.
her. And he calls her like his pharmacy mom, right?
Wow.
And so it was
I'm
just,
I'm super proud to be chatting with a Dr.
oh my,
Rungi recipient,
oh my
scholarship
God.
recipient right now. For me, that's so cool that you were named a trailblazer in
She's,
your own career. That's phenomenal. I've
I
never
know.
been, well, I might have been called that when I did my residency because I was the first
Ah,
resident there.
yes.
I was definitely a trailblazer of some form, but that's amazing to get that kind of honor as well, though.
Thank
Like that's like nationally,
Oh my God.
acclaimed and
Okay. It's weird when you say it.
oh,
It's weird when I say it, but
Sally's
then
just
it's
gonna be crying this entire episode.
I'm gonna have a Halle Berry moment right in front of you.
I do remember that moment a little bit. I think she had short hair,
She has
and I
short
think she
hair.
won the Oscar for Monster.
Monsters Ball.
Oh,
Yeah.
but see, that's the trivia that I'm good at, not the other.
That's the truth. So if I asked you first African American woman to win an Oscar, you would have been like, "Oh, I know this one." I
Halle
can even
Berry,
tell you what
Monsters
dress she
Ball.
wore.
No, I remember it. It was this
Yeah, me
really
too.
beautiful, like just like rosy, like nude-ish kind of
Yes,
like skin
yes.
tight.
You, you really do remember. It was
I
such a
do love the Oscars,
beautiful
not gonna lie.
dress. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
And she,
memorable moment. I guess I didn't realize that it was such a historical one. I just
yeah.
knew that it was so amazing to see her and she was just so happy to receive that award. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
First, that
okay.
was a big first night for her. Like something that, Hey, can you hear Louis barking?
No. A
No.
little bit,
Okay.
maybe a little bit.
A
I'll
little
cut him
bit.
out.
Okay. Thank God for noise cancellation. Like he thinks we own this neighborhood too. I don't understand. I don't know what else to do.
That's okay.
No one
Bear
can
does
walk
it
past.
too. Bear does
Ah,
it too. Yeah.
so
What's the last one?
the last one is true or true or false. The first Black woman to become a licensed US pharmacist was licensed in the state of
What? Oh,
Connecticut. Connecticut. True or false
true or
that it was,
false?
yeah.
Oh, okay. I would say false because it took you a while to come up with the ending.
I tricked you again. I'm good at this. I'm really good at this.
I'm too trusting.
Yeah, you're too trusting. You're like looking at for physical cues and stuff.
Yeah.
Dr. Anna Louise James is the first, it says one of the first Black women to be licensed in the US, more specifically in Connecticut. But I think a lot of what I was reading about her is the inspiration she went on to be to encourage other Black women to pursue pharmacy. Um,
Amazing.
so I would
Hmm.
definitely love to honor her legacy in that sense. But
Wow.
this was
Did she
fun.
get an RPH or was it a Farm D? Do you know?
RPH.
Okay.
Because yeah, Farm D, we
It
didn't
wasn't back
start
then.
having that privilege till 2000.
I gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Oh
Very cool.
boy. It's
That's
my turn to
awesome. That was
embarrass myself
fun.
in front of the world.
Well, but you see, so Sally's questions are very pharmacy related, whereas mine's not really. But we're gonna be talking about the Lunar New Year. And so, Sally, FYI, everybody, Lunar New Year is February 10th. So it's not the same as your typical Western New Year's, which is
Okay.
January 1st. So, and it changes every year. So I'm gonna give you let's see, like multiple choice.
Oh,
So each year there's an animal that's a zodiac animal that's dedicated to each year. So what is the animal that's dedicated to 2024? A, rooster, B, snake, C, rabbit, or D, dragon?
okay. Process of elimination. It's not a snake, it's not a rabbit.
How? Okay. How do you know?
I'm gonna go with those two because I just feel like I haven't seen anything on social media relating to snake or rabbit.
Okay, that's a good thought, actually.
But I'm gonna go A because if it was
That's a
dragon,
rooster.
the rooster, I feel like if it was dragon, it would be like everywhere, right?
You think? Yeah. Yeah. Final answer?
Final answer.
It's D, it's dragon. So I'm gonna read to you what the dragon is supposed to be in Chinese mythology. So it says here the dragon is a powerful and auspicious creature in Chinese mythology, representing courage, creativity, and innovation. So 2024 promises to be a year full of possibilities and opportunities.
Let's
And
go.
Yes. And for
Let's
people who are
go.
born in 2024, they are technically called dragon people, which my mom is a dragon years ago, but she is technically a dragon person. And so dragon people are charismatic, ambitious, adventurous, and fearless. They have confidence, independence, and vision. They are not afraid to pursue their dreams and goals. Oh my gosh.
So
We can
my
all
son
take a
should have
page from
been
that book.
born this year.
Oh,
That's we miscalculated.
miscalculated that
We
one. Yeah.
miscalculated on that one. Dang.
That's okay.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yes. Isn't that
That
cool?
that literally is goals. all of the things
Mhm.
that the dragon people are. So, dragon people, if you're out there and you hear me, I am absolutely bitter.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
like just fearless, ambitious, all these things. Yeah, I'm jelly.
Um, the other question, let me see. The third one or the second one that I have for you is um what is a common like wish that you would give somebody? Or that's not a true or false. Okay, true or false.
I think I'm gonna get this one.
Okay, true or false is Happy New Year's enough as a common wish for somebody during the Lunar New Year? True or false?
I'm gonna say false because in French there are a bunch of wishes besides just Happy New Year.
Ooh.
And in my culture, there's so many things that come with Happy New Year. It's not just Happy New Year.
What do you guys say? Ooh,
It's
say it in French.
usually
Say it in French.
it's meilleurs vœux, santé, prospérité. So it's like good health,
Yes.
prosperity.
Yes.
Like it's almost like all of the wishes are placed in the shadow of like good health because they know like
Yes.
then you can go on and like kind of accomplish all these different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so for at least for our culture in Vietnam, you never just say Happy New Year's. It's always,
Mm.
and kids are taught to come up with very specific wishes for the people. So you would say, we wish you good health this year. We wish that you come into a lot of money this year. We wish that all your
Yeah.
dreams come true. Things like that. But it's never just as simple as Happy New Year's. Americans, take note.
we we want more for our people than just Happy New Year.
Yeah, come on, get it together.
Oh,
So I know my questions are not as well versed, but I'm sorry.
no,
I'm coming up with them the top of my head right now.
they are.
Um,
I'm learning. I'm
yeah.
learning.
And lastly, Sally, why is it important to not say Chinese New Year, but to rather use the word Lunar New Year?
I I was doing it bad. I was
Oh
saying
no.
Chinese New Year. Um, but if that's not what it's called, it's respectful and culturally appropriate to call things what they actually are.
The lunar, yeah. I mean, we go off of the lunar calendar, and that's how we figure out the new year. But also, there's so many different Asian countries that celebrate this
Oh,
particular day, and it's not just
yeah,
China. So when
China.
you say Chinese New Year, you're not thinking about Vietnamese people who also
Oh,
celebrate
right.
the Lunar New Year. So,
Yes.
and Lunar New Year actually is a big deal. So
Yeah.
like you, I actually grew up in Vietnam for a short amount of time when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and it's such a big deal. I mean, I believe you almost get a whole week off of work. I don't know exactly how long, but it's a whole holiday. It's a legit like Christmas, basically. There's a lot of decorations. Every family, each household has this like tray of treats and snacks and all sorts of things, like very
Oh,
traditional treats and snacks specifically for the
yeah.
New Year's. And you would come over to people's houses and you just sit around, you eat these snacks, and you just chit chat. Like it's a year to visit your family and your friends, and
Oh,
that's really all you do. And you have specific dishes too. There some of these like rice type of, I don't know what they're how I would describe it in English, but they're like this type of rice dish, like rice cake almost. It's
what
rice
is it
and
called? What is it called to tell us?
it's Vietnamese is bánh trung and bánh tét,
Okay.
and it's specifically these like rice dishes where the middle is like it's got mung beans and pork, and you eat it with like this special sauce, like fish sauce thing, and it's good, but it's like a traditional food that you actually eat.
Yeah.
And you create like an altar, and you pray to your ancestors and stuff like that. As a
Wow.
kid, I'll tell you something. So you have incense that you would pray 3 times in front of this altar, and you have your little wishes for the new
Yeah.
year. But interestingly, so when you do something like that, you have very special dishes for your ancestors. You have those rice dishes, you
Oh,
have chicken. My parents would have a whole chicken, fruits and all this stuff. And you put that on the altar, you pray 3 times, and you actually have to wait for the incense to completely burn out before
for
you can
now.
eat the dish. And as a
Oh,
child, I remember being like, Mom, can I have like The
I've
food.
already done my three
Yeah.
prayers. They heard me. Can we just eat?
Exactly. So I think
Oh,
my mom said like, okay, well, you have to go and pray to get the food and then you can actually have some. But
see?
I feel like she was being probably lenient. I feel like some families you have to wait for all the incense to fall down. So it's like your ancestors eat it first before you get to.
Yeah.
And you also get the red envelopes. This is the biggest thing for kids anyways, is you get adults give children red envelopes and there's money inside. And
Oh,
so growing up, you don't have, I didn't really have like, when you do chores, people give, your parents give you money. We didn't really have that, but we did have red envelopes. And so you would save that for the year and you would buy random things with it. So I used to buy comic books when I was really little. But
I swear.
but now we would have to be the ones to give out the red envelopes because we make money. So we would give the kids the red envelopes. So not as fun for me now, but yeah, those are some of the traditions of
That's
Lunar New
so
Year, at least for
cool.
Vietnam. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Like I love culture so much. Like
Really?
it reveal like I just think like it tells you so much about people, so much more about people than they can actually share with you. Like what you just told me is like Lunar New Year is family time, it's food time, it's celebration time, it's reconnection time, wishing neighbors and families well. Like I would have never known that. First of all, consider your source. I've been calling it Chinese New Year till you just told me that that's not what it is. So I knew nothing about how it's celebrated all over the world and that this is not just something, a tradition that's particular to China. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I,
Love
I
it.
I bet you Chinese people probably celebrate it very differently than Vietnamese. So what
I'm
I'm explaining
sure.
is my own culture of Vietnam
I'm
and
sure.
yeah. So you
That's
guys, if
what
you
makes
also
it
celebrate
cool.
exactly, if you guys are celebrating Lunar New Year and you guys celebrate a little bit differently than how me and my family do it, please let us know in the comments below because I want to
Yeah.
learn what you guys do too. I mean, truly, I say don't say Chinese New Year because I don't know anything about the Chinese traditions at all. So I definitely cannot speak to that. So, and there's other countries that celebrate as well. So,
Yeah, please let us know in the comment, like through ask, because I really don't know.
yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
Thu at least has perspective from a Vietnamese standpoint. Like I just have no clue. That's like if I started talking to Thu about Eid and how
Eid.
we celebrate Eid and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
I would have
um
no idea.
yeah, right? See? So like when Ramadan comes around and the end of that is, I will share more about
Oh,
this
yeah.
huge deal in my family that happens now this year. I think it'll be sometime around June.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear all about that. I honestly didn't even know that you celebrated Ramadan. So
Yeah,
cool. This is
I
cool.
know. It's so
Okay.
cool.
All right, guys.
Oh,
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, we are back.
hi.
And we want to end this episode on a topic that we've been wanting to talk about for so long. And it's what's in a name? We've been talking about it, hinting at it.
We
And
really have.
4 months later, here we are, finally filming and
Yeah.
talking about it. Um, and you know what's interesting is ever since you told me that the way that you pronounce your name, Sally, it's actually Saleh, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I always think that in the back of my head because when I say Sally, it's literally so white and so
Yeah.
not who you are.
It
And the
is.
way that I even say it, I'm like, Sally, it's like this, like, I don't know. I just imagine a girl with like, blonde girl with pigtails, kind of.
She said, it's so not who you are.
I
It's
know, and
really
it's
not.
not, which is, yeah, tell us about that, like that
The name,
experience of, yeah, tell me about this.
my full name is Salimatu. That is my full name. It is Arabic. It has a beautiful meaning to wish and bestow health, wealth, and prosperity. It has a beautiful meaning. And where I am from, it is such a common name. It's like a Michelle.
Oh my God.
Like nobody would have an issue saying Salimatu. Nobody. Moving to the United States, I'm like, I don't know what I want to go back. Do I want it to be Salima? Do I want it to be, my family calls me Matu. They just go for the second portion of the name. My nickname in my family is Matu. And um I get to my ESOL class. You know, dude, you know all the things that go down in
Yes,
ESOL. You
we
know
talked
what the
about
things are going.
this. Yeah. I didn't know
My
that it was called ESOL. I always say
oh,
ESL.
ESL, right? I get to my ESOL or ESL class. My ESL teacher comes to me, seventh grade, and I don't know where she got this cultural competency from, but she asked me, what would you like to be called? Because she said Salimatu perfectly. And it turns out that she actually is familiar with Guinea. She lived in Guinea for 4 years and was married to somebody from Guinea. Her son, like, she knows my culture. So she asked me, what do you go by? Because she figured, like, I must have a nickname. I told her, well, my family calls me Matu. And that's the only nickname I've ever had in my family. But at school, it's always been Salimatu. She's like, well, I know in Guinea, people that have the name Salimatu, they tend to go by Saleh. I was like, that's true. And she's like, are you okay if we call you Saleh? I said, yeah, I'm okay with this. But I think what was profound about that experience is she had a conversation. This was a Caucasian woman, right? Like when I think back on it, she, with everything I know, like she should have
Good for
looked
her.
different,
Yeah.
right? Good for her, right? She should have looked different. But she was a Caucasian woman that had done missionary work or whatever. Like, I don't think it's missionary work. I forgot the name of the other organization. And she was teaching English to kids in Guinea. And she came and had a conversation with me about how I wanted to be identified. And we agreed, Saleh. Where the plan completely backfires is the way she spells it for the English pronunciation is with a Y, when really the correct spelling of Saleh would have an accent on top of it, but English speakers don't know accents. She put a Y there. That somehow became Sally.
So is your name spelled Saley all the time, or is that just
Yes,
okay?
it's
Okay.
spelled Saley all the time
But there's an
because
accent in the E?
there's so the correct spelling has no Y.
Oh, so
She
she
thought,
added the Y.
yeah, she thought adding the
Oh,
Y would force people to know that it's not Sally, but people mostly go to the Saley route,
oh,
and I correct them to Sally. But
okay. Ooh, that's hard. Yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard. And I don't I never used to take it personally until I think I got into professional settings and I saw that people have a really, really comfortable time learning how to pronounce East European names. They find a way to say it correctly.
Let's talk about that.
There, there's somehow those last names are never pronounced incorrectly. I don't care how long it is. I've seen people, it gets out correctly. But I think that as people of African descent, we find a way to change our names to make other people comfortable with how they should identify us. And I think it was one of my biggest drives and inspiration for naming my son a traditional African name. I want people to learn how to say Jidena. If you see it and you don't know how to say it, I'm happy to tell you how to say it, but I'm not going to call him JD. I'm not going to call him Jay. My family,
JD's
we
kind of a
have,
cool name though. It sounds like a football player.
it is,
Like a
right?
cool, like a popular kid that's gonna win like
A
like
lot of tournaments.
a lot of tournaments, but I also see him as like prom king.
Dude, to
He's
put a
gonna have
name
like
like
a
that.
cheerleader girlfriend. Ah, JD.
Could he could he be any more of the typical high school popular kid at that point?
I see it for him and I love it for him. Okay.
And I think that's been my relationship with names. Like it wasn't in the beginning. I found nothing wrong with it. In fact, I strive for people to call me Saley. I wanted to assimilate. I wanted to belong. I wanted to not be like I remember a field trip. There's so too many instances. Like she gets to my name and she's stuck. She's stuck. And I just called my name out loud. She's like, and she goes, "Yep, that's it. Thank you for saving me." And I was like,
I have so many of those moments. And as a kid, it's like, I don't know what it does to a child's
yeah,
psyche. It
yeah,
definitely does something to me
yeah,
because every time we have a substitute teacher, and I know for a fact that this person is going to stop at my name and like
yeah.
freak out, like their reaction is worse than just, honestly,
Trying.
if you're a freaking substitute teacher, if you're somebody who's going to be dealing with something like this, instead of freaking out about like, oh my God, I can't say this name,
Yeah,
why don't you just say, ooh, I don't know how to say this name. Can someone help me? Or something like that. Or just
yeah,
say, "Oh, how do you pronounce your name?" Or like, maybe it's hard to figure out what the right way is, but the freak out and like the pause and like the look around and being
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, that's it. Thank God, like I don't
Thank
have to
God.
say it." Dude, you're the adult, like figure out the nicer way to say it. And
Mhm.
as a substitute teacher, you've been in so many classrooms with so many kids with different names. Like figure it out. I think if it were me, I would probably go the route of like, oh, wait, I'm having trouble saying this name. Could someone help me? Like, be like, this is my fault versus it's you're the one with the weird name. You know what I mean? Like, that's
And I
your
don't
freaking responsibility to
when
like be comfortable with another person's name. It's not their
yeah,
fault that that's what their name is.
family,
So don't
yeah,
make it like into a weird thing. And especially in school when you're a kid, it makes you feel so much more
different.
like different. Yeah, where as a kid, that's all you want is to be the same. And now you're being forced to be different simply because of who you are, and that is
Are
the core value, like the core experience as an immigrant person of like
yeah,
I'm always going to be different no matter what.
yeah.
And it
It's
does something to you.
it does. It does. And identities are formed through experiences, right? And if I start rejecting my name because each time it comes up, it reminds me of how different I am. I don't realize in that moment that by rejecting that name, I am rejecting a huge component of my identity, how I show up,
Oh my
right?
God.
It's
Yeah.
it's like it, it's such a little thing, but it's such a big thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I had a high school teacher, um, Megan Waldron, my journalism teacher, like loved her, right? I loved her for reasons you already know. Um, and that's one of the things that I remember the most about her as a teacher. She understood that she was a young Caucasian woman that was teaching in PG County, where more than 90%, 95% of her students were either Black or Hispanic. And the way she related to us, beginning with how we wanted to be identified, is one of the things I remember the most about her as a teacher. And I think for her, she just thinks like we loved coming to a class that allowed us to express ourselves because we're teenagers and there were no other medium for that. But she made space for that, but she saw us. Like she really saw us. And I remember her asking me, how do you say your name? How do you say your name? And she actually asked me the history behind how the Salimatu gained a Y. And I explained it to her. And she was like, there could have been other ways of doing that. Someone wasn't very adept with like word verbiage and stuff like, right? Such a typical response from somebody who's a journalism major. Like, I could have manipulated those words a little better to give you your true name, which is Saleh.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I'm curious for you, take us through what it's like being we say through because you
Mhm.
allow us to get away with through, but I know that there's a more appropriate, a correct pronunciation for your name as well. well.
Yeah, I think I struggle with this so much because I think that it does take a little bit of a mental toll too if you're always looking out for is somebody going to say my name correctly.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like Thu is a good middle ground of like it being close enough to my real name, which I say Anh Thu. Like it's got like if you talk about, like the little symbol above vowels, right? Mine would have
Yeah.
a little curve and
Apostrophe.
apostrophe looking thing
Okay.
on top of the U. So then when
Ah.
in Vietnam or in Vietnamese you say Thu, like it's like a sound, not just
Wow.
ooh. Yeah.
Mm,
So,
mm.
but that's really difficult. And I think like even my sister, who is Vietnamese, was born in Vietnam but moved to America when she was really young and has a very hard time speaking Vietnamese. She just gets really nervous speaking it. She may
Uh-oh.
have even a hard time saying it too. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with people saying Thu. What gets me is when I was in Tucson, Arizona, and my first teacher, whoever like my first American teacher, she said my name and she said Thu. And that was it. I was like, oh, that's how I'm gonna pronounce my name from now on is Thu. But that
Mm.
was kind of in a way created by her. Like I didn't necessarily chose that, but it
Oh,
made sense to me.
yeah.
So then I went through middle school, high school, all of my younger years in Tucson saying Thu, Thu, Thu. And even in college, I would say Thu. But then when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, where there's more Vietnamese people and there's a bigger Vietnamese community, a lot of the people who say my name say Tu. And that
Wow.
was when I was like, I was like, oh my God. Like, have I been saying my name, quote unquote, wrong this whole time? Because
Oh,
there's like and by the way, similar to your name, Thu is a very, very common Vietnamese name.
man. Yeah.
So common. Like there are hundreds and thousands of Thu Nguyen's out there. So, when I go to Phoenix, where there's a bigger Vietnamese community and there's a lot more Thus, or some of them pronounce Tu, now it's this really bizarre conundrum of
Yeah.
like Thu versus Tu. And now I have to even on top of the layer of like it's not even how I would say my name normally anyways. Now it's like Thu, is it Thu or is it Tu? But I've grown up
Oh,
with
but
Thu my whole
yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying is there is this like stress of like do I
Yeah.
need to correct someone? Do I need to correct someone? It's
Yeah.
very stressful on the person to be like
Yeah.
I don't want you to say two, and then other people who know you knows me say two, or like they
Dude.
get confused and they're like, is it two? Is it two?
Yeah.
I think I've kind of got to this level of my life where I'm like, I don't want to be defined by this. I don't
Thing.
want to be stressed out by this
Yeah.
thing anymore. Like you can call
Yeah.
me Thu, you can call me two, just like someone who's like, you can call me Gabby or Gabrielle, doesn't matter. Whatever you
Yeah.
want, Gabby or Gabrielle, fine, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
at the point where I'm like, you can call me Thu, you can call me two, whatever you prefer,
Yeah.
as long as it makes sense. But the problem with two is that I don't respond to two because two is such a common
Oh,
word. You're like,
got you.
I too
What?
am allergic to cats too. Do you? I'm like, what are you
Oh.
saying? I don't know what you're saying. I
It's
don't.
like it doesn't matter what how serious the topic is. You find a way, like you find a way to make me laugh when I'm like, this is a very serious topic we're talking about. Just like, oh, what, you, me or the cat? Which is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. But that's sometimes it is really funny because I'm
yeah.
sitting in a room and they're talking to me and I'm like, oh, you've been saying something to me this whole time. Oops. I don't respond because I'm not hearing my name. And it is hard. And
Very.
sometimes I feel like I'm an introvert, but I feel like a lot of times I'm an introvert because of my name, because I get really anxious and nervous
Oh,
about going through this whole freaking roller coaster of like, what is your name? How do
really?
you say it? Like get people being really
Yeah.
nervous. And I wish that more people would just relax about that.
Yeah.
Just calm down. And so in a way, actually, I'm thinking about like my future children and a little bit
Yeah.
opposite of you. I kind of want them to
Want
have an
to
easier time. I might just name them
really?
like Anne. And then like create your own
What
nickname
is
if you want.
wrong with you? It's like you'll be Anne, you'll be Jane, you'll be
Oh yeah.
Andrew and
Yes,
Michael.
you're John, you're Anne. We're done. We're done with this. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Andrew and Michael's and
It's
Ashley's, like,
basic, yeah.
and we're gonna
And
move
maybe
on.
they will also be cheerleaders and football players. You never know.
Andrew and all this is possible. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's so interesting. Like when my husband and I were talking about the name thing, he's named very uniquely. It's like he has an English first name and then a traditional middle name with the last name. So for Henry, I'm like, your name is not getting mispronounced in any
Yeah,
culture,
that's a
sir.
really easy name. Yeah.
Like you're gonna go everywhere. It's Henry. But he's like, yeah, like that was actually like a thing my parents did or whatever. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm going to have this thing with names. And for our son, we knew we wanted a traditional name. We knew we did. And I think also for us, we have this anxiety that we are going to raise kids that aren't going to have any connection to where we're from. And we feel that their names is like giving them traditional names is like a step in the right direction of helping them always have a connection to home, but that's our home. Like, it's really difficult to conceptualize that Jidena's going to have the bond with Africa that Henry and I have. But we hope that he knows there are cousins that are there, there are aunts, and there's this huge family that's back there that's going to love him if he ever wanted to go and explore and stuff like that. Um, my sister's my sister's name, her name is Saran, and Saran in where we're from is so common. Like she jokes about this and she tells people because when people meet her here, they're like, Saran, wow, that's such a unique name. And she always laughs. She's like, Saran, where I'm from, is like Ashley. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's like Ashley. Like my
Well,
parents couldn't have tried.
I let me tell you something. My name is so common in Vietnam. I have to tell you this story. That my sister and I actually have the same name.
Okay, your parents just felt like, yeah,
Now, let me tell you the lore of it all. Okay, so my mom was pregnant with my sister. I'm 7 because we're 7 years apart. My dad, when I was younger, my dad, he really fascinating story, but he has a degree. He goes to a Vietnamese college and gets a PhD in quantum physics in Vietnam. But because of his intelligence and just his ability to do a lot of things, he has a lot of opportunities to go overseas. So when I was
yes,
younger, he would go to Italy. We lived in Japan for a whole year because of his credentials. He would be in Russia, Germany. So he was traveling a lot when we were younger. So my mom is at home with me. She's pregnant. I'm 7 years old, and my mom's like, "What do you think I should name your sister?" And what do you think a 7-year-old Theo said? I said you should name her after me. And she did.
no, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. This is the story you should have started with. This is the story that the people want to know. What? I cannot believe that. That is hilarious. Okay, what's hilarious is that your 7-year-old mind says name her after me. And you move on. You probably go on to color, go on to read your comics books or whatever. And your mom's like, I'm going to name my second baby girl after my first baby
Well, I think the other thing too is sometimes I don't know how common it is, but in Vietnam they do kind of do that. They have very similar first name, but the middle name is
girl.
different. Because in Vietnam, how you say your name is you say the last name first, the middle name, and then the first name. Versus in
Gotcha.
America or in English, you say
First and
first, and then
last.
last name. So in a way, like yeah, she named her after me a little bit, but it's still a little bit different. So
Yeah,
it's a little more bit more common to do that. But the fact that I was like, yeah, you should name her after me, because
that's
I'm
the
this
gold.
like narcissist little kid or something. I mean, I was a bossy queen back then, all right?
Me? Duh. What are you thinking of? Oh, wow. But then even the order and how they call the names, right? Like last,
It's
middle, then
different. Yeah.
first. You can see how it's a non-issue in that society. It's a non-issue
Yes,
in
it's
that
normal.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my name would be Nguyen, which is my last name. So
And
Nguyen Thi Anh Thu, which is my whole name.
wow.
So Nguyen is my last name, Thi Anh is my middle, and then Thu is my last name. Or my first name.
First name.
Yeah. So confused. So yeah.
Wow, that's so fun. Yeah, I needed that story. I'm gonna bring that story up forever now. I'm like, is this a what
This
should
is
we name the baby after moment too? Is that what we're
yeah,
having right now? It's like
exactly. You're like, this
me.
is not my story, but let me tell you a funny story that I heard the other day.
Oh,
But can
that's
you tell the audience how to say your son's name? Because it is a pretty traditional name. And it's
yeah.
very uncommon for me, anyways, to hear a name
Yeah.
like that. So how would you break it down for people?
My son's name is Jidena.
Jidenna.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's
it
pretty
means,
simple.
yeah, it has a very powerful meaning to us. It means trust in the Father or trust in the Lord.
Oh,
Our
wow.
journey to get him wasn't easy, and it just took a lot
Um,
of conviction and trust that what was ours would be ours, no matter how
yeah,
badly we wanted or how uninterested we were. And that's why we named him that and made his middle name Prince after my uncle. So, and that's actually like the way your sister is named. So, in my culture, the way names are actually given, it's your children's names are a way for you to honor and extend people you care about's legacies. Versus in my husband's culture, the way children's names are given is based on the circumstances and situation of their arrival. So their name, yeah, like I think Henry's middle name means God knows best or something, or God's blessing or something like that, because he was the first in his family. But they in his culture, the children's names are assigned or chosen based on the circumstances. Maybe the mother had a smooth pregnancy and a smooth birth and things like that. But for us, we give children's names to honor people in our lives. Like my niece is named after my mother. I am named after my paternal grandmother. My sister Saran is named after my maternal grandmother. So
gotcha.
I named my son, I gave him his middle name Prince. It's after my uncle who raised us when we moved to the US, which he was our mom and dad well into adulthood because neither
Yeah,
of my parents lived here. So these names have a lot of
they mean something.
significance,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I just think like it's so messed up that at some point I wanted to disconnect with it. Like I wanted to, and I decided to pick another name that just felt easier
Yeah.
on helping me belong because that's what this is all about. It's just our need to belong.
Yeah. I I just last comment and then we can move on to something that I've been thinking about. But I think it's kind of cool that J Jadana, is that how you say it?
Jidena.
Jadana. Hey,
Yes.
I don't have it written out in front of me, so
I
but
know that's
Jadena.
true. All fairness, you
In all
don't.
fairness, Jadena, it's kind of cool that he does have an option to make it more easy for people to
Yeah.
say and
Yeah.
access the name and access who he is.
Mhm.
So in a way it's kind of like a nice mix of both
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
can't really I can tell people to call me T, I guess, if I really like want to do that, but like I don't really have that option to make it Americanized if I wanted to,
That's true.
and I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. So
For
that's just
God's
kind of what I
sakes,
was
it's just
thinking.
three
There's a
letters.
little bit of wiggle room for him, which is good.
Mhm. I
Um,
hope he feels that way.
yeah. Yeah, he's gonna resent you.
Yeah. Why did you do this?
I know, right? That's
Why
that's
did you
how we
do
do.
this?
How could you do this to me? You know.
Such a teenage slogan.
I know. Um, one thing about what's in a name, I always thought about telling my name and my story, but when I was in when I was working in one of my previous jobs, that the name thing is actually such an interesting conundrum for a lot of other people, not just me. but it actually kind of shows a little bit of ignorance too in the people that we work with when it comes to names. And I can
Yeah.
give you a very specific example of when we were at a meeting. I'm not going to be very specific because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, whatever. But we were in a meeting and somebody brought up the fact that two of our coworkers, their names are too similar. And somebody who is not, she's pretty white, I guess, Caucasian, complained that two of the other coworkers, and I'll make up some names. One of them is Trang and the other one's Yang, somewhat similar, but she's just like, ugh, it's just so much for me to like remember and learn. And I remember being in this meeting and thinking,
What?
that's not an appropriate thing to say out
Appropriate.
loud. Like, okay, you can think that, sure, but like the fact that you feel entitled enough to say, to voice
Comfortable.
that complaint, and then
Comfortable.
nobody calls it out except for me being like, what the, what, what is happening? And then, but I
What?
didn't say anything because nobody said anything. And I was just really shocked that like something like that was said. And I
Yeah.
remember saying it to another coworker later on in the day. I'm like, I can't believe that so and so said that. That is so
Oh
rude.
my God.
And just kind of
Wow.
what you just said earlier about how sometimes people do make a more effort in those Eastern European names.
Yeah.
Basically, the person who voiced the complaint, her name is, I'll just make up a name, Ashley, and there's another Ashley in the
In
freaking
another
department.
department.
And then one person spelled her name with a Y and the other spelled her name with an IE. And
Yeah.
guess what? When I address them in an email or
Mhm.
when I write them a message, I
Mhm.
make sure to
Mhm.
write the Y
Mhm.
or the
The
IE,
IE.
despite them both having the
Mm.
same freaking name. I gave
Same.
them that courtesy because I
Yes.
care about who they are and like
Yeah.
I want to give them that respect. And
Fact.
yet there is this person
Yeah.
that is literally complaining that there's a Trang and a Yang and it's too similar for her to freaking remember. That is so disrespectful. That is happening. I want to say that happened 3, 4 years ago. This is not just like, oh, but that
Oh,
was back in the day. Like, don't give me
yeah.
that. That BS.
Yeah.
Because for a
Oh,
fact, nobody spoke up in that meeting, and I should have. Like, I literally, now that I'm thinking right now, I'm like, I should have sent my advisor or supervisor at the time an email being like, that's not appropriate. And you need to be speaking out about that. You're the freaking
yeah.
supervisor. How dare you allow something like that to like be said and spoken in a meeting? And I mean, granted, this person has said a lot of very outdated, really rude things in the past, but just that one really was like, what the,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. See,
Yeah.
there,
And
I,
yeah, I hate when people do stuff like that. It's like,
I
oh,
can't.
I know they say their name this way, but I don't like it. And that's been said before too.
You don't get to, you quite literally don't get to make that executive decision. Like, really plainly put, if I say that this is what I want to be addressed as, that's what we're going to address me as. And we don't need to have a brunch, a meeting, a powwow.
Somebody wants to call Bobby, and the group that I'm talking about, they're like, Bobby is such a kid name. I don't want to call him Bobby. I'm just gonna call him Bob or Robert because Bobby is so weird to say to an adult. And I'm literally like, who
What?
cares?
Yeah, Thu, kudos to you for the restraint and
I'm just
the
like,
comp because I mean, people can accuse me of a lot of things, but one thing I don't do is I don't hand out get out of jail free cards. I just don't. I don't believe in it. It's not how we will actually get to a resolve. Like if I don't agree, I will articulate that I don't agree. Not agreeing does not mean that what you're saying is not valid. In fact, me saying that I don't agree has diddly to do with what you think. You're still allowed to think and
right,
express exactly how you feel the same way I should be able to tell you that that's not cool. That right there
it's
cannot be
not.
happening. Like that's not cool. And and I don't oh, I think I'm about to get into another episode yet again, but yet people underestimate the trauma it's trauma. I'm not
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
not like picking the wrong word here because I know that that word is being used a lot right now. But I'm gonna you're gonna notice that I'm speaking really slowly because I want to make sure I convey this correctly. But people underestimate the trauma of being an other in a workplace where they feel like they are not seen or heard correctly. It's traumatic. I come to meetings rehearsing in my head how I want to show up, be seen, express myself. Heaven forbid, should you say something inappropriate and I decide that I'm going to check you on that, I'm going to get out of that meeting being labeled as abrasive,
Oh,
aggressive, angry,
yeah.
mad, all these different things. So I have a lot of anxiety about expressing myself publicly or privately because there are too many labels that are already slapped on me before people ever even decide to engage with me. Like, it's a problem. And the
Yeah.
name thing is only one component of it. Like I said, I'm getting into a whole nother episode, but it's traumatic when I'm coming to work and I have to think and rehearse and
Oh, yeah.
rework in my
100%.
head how I'm going to present and show up to this meeting that's happening because someone is bound to say something that's just wrong.
It's traumatic for me to be like, my name is Thu, and they're like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
How do you say it? What? And I'm like, it's literally THU. If you can read, then you can say it.
say it.
But they freak out over that. It's very traumatic. It's like I'm like, oh God, no, okay. Like I have to like sometimes prepare myself to introduce my name. And that's
Imagine that.
not cool. That's
No.
not cool for me, yo. Like all you guys out there who's listening, like I it's not cool for me
Oh,
to have to be the one to be so nervous about that. And
yeah.
also, let me give you another story. One time I was at this park or whatever with some friends, or just like a big party. I think it was like a going away party or something. And somebody's introducing me to a group of people. And I'm like, oh, yeah, my name's Thu. Or he says, her name's Tu. And I'm like, well, I go by Thu. And he turns to me, he's like, Tu's easier to say. And I was like, that again, you don't have the right to say that. I understand where he's coming from. And sure, like now I'm like, okay, whatever at this point. But I have to get there myself. Like I have to be the one to make that decision for myself. Like
Thank
why are
you.
you like teaching me how to properly introduce myself?
Nice.
Go somewhere
Okay.
else.
If you've been listening to this episode, I've never seen Sue have a lot of missed go and what the as I've heard on this
I
episode.
mean, it's a traumatic one, and like you
Is it?
said, you're not, you're not exaggerating when you
Yeah.
say that it can be very painful for a lot of us who have to
Pain,
go through this.
it's painful.
So,
I
yeah.
we you know we may do a whole nother episode about race, gender, identity, and
Oh,
how we show up.
yeah.
We will likely do one.
That is
Um,
in the intro of our show, is
it's
to
in the
talk
intro.
about our identities and exploring what that
Identity.
means. So,
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
through I think like, for me, I'm where you are, Sally, and people find out it's Saleh and they're like hell bent on it. No, it's Saleh. And someone else says Sally. No, her name is actually Saleh.
Yes, some
So
people
that
do
I
that.
get like an advocate who makes it like their personal vision, like mission to go and correct everyone else. Meanwhile, I'm just there like, it's fine. Like I'm cool.
Yeah, I'm exactly where you are too. Yeah. Well, anyways, I think that is the episode for now, but the
Yeah.
takeaway is, just do your best to make that person feel welcomed and
Yeah.
not so odd for having a different name, because your reaction, I
Yeah.
think, to a person with a different name is what makes it bad.
Yeah.
Versus if you're like, oh shoot, I've never said that name before. Could you help me say
Mhm.
it, please? Like
Mhm.
I'm wanting to learn. I want to say it correctly so that we can have the right first impression. Then
Yeah.
that is a different way to approach something like this. So yeah.
100%. I'm
Anyways,
with it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening to our episode today. Oh my gosh. Thanks for letting me rant about this, by the way. Um, but if this episode speaks to you and you think that others may benefit from hearing our stories, send this episode to them. This will help us reach even more people.
Absolutely. This episode is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can connect with us on socials, and the links and descriptions for all those will be linked below. Our handles as well will be linked below. Just remember, until the next time someone mispronounces your name and you got to check them and redirect them.
Yeah.
Please remember, don't forget, we got
We got this.
Yes, we do.